Hello, everybody. This is Gary Matheny again. It's February 2025, and this is an edition of the Liberty Observatory. Organic, unfiltered, unedited, uncompromised. What you see is what you get. Well, today we're going to return to questions. And today's question is, what were your high school friends like? What was it like with your high school friends? And so we'll enter into this question. And if you like, press the like button. If you subscribe, are willing to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. So let's answer today's question. What about high school and your friends? Well, first of all, my most immediate response as it relates to high school is that I look back in the rearview mirror with rose-colored glasses. It seems like to me that I have remembered all the good and I have forgotten all the bad. I do remember as a sophomore in high school thinking, boy, this lasts a long time. This high school thing lasts a long time. So I can't say that I had a good time in high school, but I don't have any resentment or bitterness or bad feelings about it. Like I said, I mostly look at my high school experiences through rose-colored glasses. And yet I know that it was full of uncertainty, insecurity, and failure. I failed in so many different respects. I tried a few times to get a girlfriend, couldn't get a girlfriend in high school for whatever reason. I did enjoy music, and at that time, music was guiding my thought process probably more than anything else. And it wasn't always constructive, and it wasn't always destructive, but it didn't lend itself a great deal towards forming who I eventually became as a man. I do remember that one of my favorite songs was Jethro Tull's Aqualung. For years when I was young, I thought I would end up as an Aqualung. An old man sitting on a park bench, slobbering over the place. The rest of it goes eyeing little girls. I thought that's probably where I'd wind up, an Aqualung. But I didn't, and thank God for that. I also remember Elton John's great song, Rocket Man. And the line in there, I think it's going to be a long, long time. I used to love singing that line. And I knew something was going to be a long time, but I didn't know what it was. All I knew is I was 17, 18, 19 years old, and I had a life to live. Good, bad, or indifferent, it was going to be a long, long time. But getting back to the issue of friends, I'll talk in general now about my friends. We did a lot of binge drinking. That was probably my number one recreational activity. Could partly explain as to why I couldn't get a girlfriend. Did recreational drug use. We came from North St. Louis County, the Overland area by the airport. We were working class 100%. Rittner High School was graduating about 1,000 students every year. At one time in the 60s, Rittner High School was the largest high school in the state of Missouri. In the early 70s, it was still a mega high school. Now, me and my friends, we tended to involve ourselves in certain illegalities. Of course, drinking underage in high school. There were a few fights here and there. There was also vandalism and some minor theft. And so that's kind of where working class boys were at in high school back circa 1970. Graduated high school in 1972. But I thought that I would spend a couple of minutes talking about the three friends that made the most impression upon me. And I'm going to mention them by name. All three of them, it's going to be complimentary, so I don't have to worry about repercussions. Shouldn't anyhow. One was Bill Miller. And Bill Miller was a big boy. And he probably weighed about 250 pounds even while in high school. And he had a huge likability factor. You could not help but like the guy. He had a great personality, outgoing, extroverted. Couldn't help but not like Bill Miller. Which, on the issue of friendship, likability is important, but it shouldn't necessarily be the defining aspect of a friendship. Friendship should be a little bit more deeper level where you really care for each other. The thing I remember most about Bill is that we did road trips. Made a couple trips out to Colorado, made a couple trips down to New Orleans. This is from St. Louis. And we made one 30-day trip out to the West Coast in the summer of 1976. Bill Miller called me in the fall, and we were talking. And I told him, and I never had said this before, because I don't see him that often or talk to him that often. But I said, you know, I really enjoyed our road trips. I'm so glad that we did our road trips, because I look at them as very fond memories. And he said they were the best. So I take from that he really enjoyed our road trips. We were young men on the go. Gasoline was cheap. Cars were cheap. And you just load up the back of the car with camping gear or whatever, and off you went to explore America. It was a great time to be a young man in America. I'll give you probably the worst trip that I had with Bill. It had to do with going camping on a float stream in southern Missouri. And we had left early from St. Louis to get down to this float stream. And we had bought beer the Friday night, and true to form for the high school, and we may have been like first year of college then, I can't remember, but true to form, we started cracking the beers as soon as we left St. Louis, which was about 6 o'clock a.m. And so by the time we got to the campground, we had kind of a buzz on. And we didn't pay any attention to where we pitched the tent. We just pitched it where we wanted to pitch it, being St. Louis boys. You know, we didn't think there were any laws outside of St. Louis. It was a land of lawlessness, so we had no laws to follow outside of St. Louis. We were wrong about that. And so basically, we pitched a tent, and the conservation agent said, hey, you can't pitch the tent here. It's not a recognized campsite. You got to pitch your tent over at so-and-so. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. We'll go on our float trip first, and we'll pitch our tent. Well, of course, all during the float trip, we kept drinking. And so when we got back from the float trip, we were a little tired and a little drunk. And so we're kind of found a few people to hang around with who were, you know, young college students. And so here comes a conservation agent. Oh, you got to move your tent. Oh, yeah, we'll move our tent. Don't worry about it. We're just visiting with these people right now. And so around, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, he comes around for the last time and basically says, hey, you got to move your tent. And so this is when we decide, get upset with the guy and say, well, we'll just leave. And so what we did, we threw the tent in the back of the car and got and drove. But we had been drinking quite a bit. I was driving. My friend, he was drunk. I remember driving on an old state highway. I think it was Highway 19 in southern Missouri, south of Steelville. I would go around a curve and he would tumble over in my lap and I had to straighten him back up. And I ran off of the road on the left side of the road, which is so sobering. But I was able to guide the car back on the road. And finally, we made it to Steelville, Missouri, and we spent the night at the Rainbow Lodge. And I remember when I got up the next morning, laying in bed, looking at the ceiling, and I thought about God for the first time in a long time. I had not thought about him in years. But then it sobered me. It made me think that maybe there really is a God. Because for all intents and purposes, we could have killed ourselves, we could have killed somebody else. Running off of the left side of the road it's inexcusable. I don't offer any excuse. But it kind of reflects upon the nature of the relationship of high school students back in the early 70s. Another thing about Bill Miller is that we were prone to philosophical discussions. And they were practical philosophical discussions. I like words. And basically, Bill and I had a long discussion. It probably lasts an hour maybe. I don't know how long it lasted. But we were driving down the road talking about the difference between want and need. What is the difference between want and need? So that was my relationship with Bill. A good time, very likable personality. But, you know, as we got out of college, we tended to drift away, and I still consider him a friend, and he's still very likable. The second friend I want to talk about is Rob Ganale. And Rob Ganale fits into that category of being a great friend. A great friend to all. Of all the high school friends that I had, he was the most interested in keeping relationship with other high school students. For instance, I had a 21st birthday, and he gave me a birthday party. And so, you know, back in the early to mid 70s, you know, a guy giving another guy a birthday party was kind of not so much, you know, but he remembered my birthday. And so that stuck with me. So years later, I got disconnected with him. I moved down to Farmington, started a law practice, had kids, and was just busy in life. Years later, he called me up and had some legal things going on, and I went up to St. Louis and represented him. But all through those 20 years or so that I had not seen him, I would tell people that I knew in the country that I had one high school friend that if I call him up to ask for help, he would drop what he's doing and try and help me. And this is a guy that I was disconnected with. And so when I got reconnected with him, our friendship was even stronger than it was in high school. And I think it was stronger because he understood the depth of what it is to be a friend than your typical person. And maybe I ought to talk sometime about friendship. I have preached a sermon on it in the past. Next friend would be my best friend. Rick Weaver. Rick Weaver and I went to high school together. We were in college together down at Southwest Missouri State in Springfield. And Rick wound up back in St. Louis after a couple years and went to radiology school, X-ray. Became a X-ray technician, worked in a hospital for many, many years until he retired. And the thing about Rick is the rapport. We never grow tired of talking to each other. I call him up about once a week and we talk about an hour, and the conversation never bogs down in looking at each other and thinking, what am I going to say now? We just have a really good rapport that has been born out of a friendship that has lasted for years because I did stay connected to Rick. Now, I should also say Rick was always there for me because I had a lot of ins and outs and ups and downs in life. You know, I went to law school, which was a difficult experience for me. I was unlucky in love. I was in my early to mid 30s until I got philosophical about relationships with women. Prior to that, I was emotional and inevitably would pursue women that would ultimately reject me. And so, I have marriage, 3 kids. I started a solo practice of law in the 90s down in Farmington. And so, life has had a lot of ups and downs for me. And I was close to Rick during some times and not so close to Rick at other times, but I knew I could always call upon Rick. He was my buddy, we were friends, and he's become my best friend over the years. So that's example of 3 of my friends that I had in high school. What about your friends in high school? If you'd like to comment below, assuming that service is allowed, please comment. And God bless you all, and have a good day.